It was March of 1991, and Reba McEntire was at the top of her game. She was in the middle of her I'm in Love Again tour, playing to sold-out arenas and cementing her status as one of country music's biggest stars. Her live show was a high-energy spectacle, and the heart and soul of that show was her road family, a tight-knit band of musicians she deeply trusted and cared for. Then, in an instant, that family was shattered. On the night of March 15th, 1991, Reba and her band had just finished a private corporate gig for IBM in San Diego. The plan was to fly out that night in 2 separate charter jets to Fort Wayne, Indiana, for the next tour stop. Reba, however, was battling a case of bronchitis. Her doctor had advised her to rest. So she, along with her then husband and manager, Narvel Blackstock, and her stylist, made the fateful decision to stay overnight in San Diego and fly out the next day. The band, along with their tour manager, boarded their jet to head to Indiana. The aircraft was a Hawker DH-125, a small corporate jet. Taking off from San Diego's Brown Field Municipal Airport around 1:45 a.m. on March 16th, it carried 10 people. Tour manager Jim Hammond, band members Chris Austin, Kurt Capello, Joey Siganiro, Paula K. Evans, Terry Jackson, Anthony Saputo, and Michael Thomas, plus the 2 pilots, Donald Holmes and Chris Hollinger. Just minutes after takeoff, the jet disappeared from radar. It had flown directly into the side of Otay Mountain, a peak just a few miles from the airport, across the Mexican border. The impact was catastrophic. There were no survivors. The news came to Reba in the dead of the night. Her pilot, Roger Woolsey, had taken off in the second plane shortly after the first and had seen a fireball erupt in the darkness. He alerted her husband, who then had to face the unfathomable task of telling his wife what had happened. Reba later recounted that moment. She said, "He came back to the hotel room where I was. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and he said one of the planes crashed. And I said, 'Are they okay?' He said, 'I don't think so.' I said, 'But you're not sure?' He said, 'I don't think so.' And I said, 'Well, we'll get a confirmation, right?' We did. We finally did." The loss was devastatingly personal. They weren't just employees. They were her confidants, her pranksters, her musical partners. Jim Hammond, her tour manager for 7 years, was like a brother, and her entire band was so close to her. They were a family, forged on the road. The country music community immediately wrapped its arms around Reba. Vince Gill, who was incredibly close with many of the band members, was gutted. He and his wife at the time, Janice, had been trying to get keyboardist Kurt Capello to produce an album for her. Gill, along with his friend Rodney Crowell, wrote the song "Go Rest High on That Mountain" in the aftermath, a song that would become an anthem for grief for an entire generation. Dolly Parton reached out, offering her own band to Reba if she needed them to finish her tour. Wynonna Judd was one of the first people to call, offering any support she could. The weight of the decision to continue was immense. How could she get back on stage without the people who had stood beside her for so long? In her autobiography, Reba, My Story, she wrote, "I didn't know if I could go on. I didn't know if I wanted to. But I knew that my band, my friends, would want me to. So, we did." The next public appearance for Reba was just over a week later at the Academy Awards. She was scheduled to perform the Oscar-nominated song "I'm Checking Out" from the movie Postcards from the Edge. Many expected her to cancel, but she went on, delivering a performance that was professional yet tinged with the visible sadness. It was a moment of incredible strength. The strength would be needed for what came next, creating a new album. She funneled her grief into her work, and the result was the 1991 album, For My Broken Heart. It was a record dedicated to her lost friends, and every note felt like it was soaked in that loss. The album cover itself was a departure, a simple, somber photo of Reba, her trademark fiery red hair appearing darker, her expression full of sorrow. She later explained the process, saying, quote, "We were supposed to have been in the studio that next week, so we postponed it for a month, and I went in and everybody said, 'Are you going to be able to do this?' I said, 'I've got to. This is for them.'" The title track, For My Broken Heart, became an anthem for anyone nursing a deep wound. But it was another song, The Greatest Man I Ever Knew, that Reba said hit her the hardest, as it reminded her of her own emotionally distant father. She famously broke down in the studio while recording it, and the producers had to piece together her vocals for multiple takes because she couldn't get through it in one pass. Another track, If I Had Only Known, was a haunting ballad about regret and loss that was almost too painful to listen to, knowing the context. The album For My Broken Heart went on to sell over 4 million copies, becoming the biggest of her career. It was a commercial success born from an unspeakable tragedy, a tribute that resonates with millions of fans who were grieving with her. The official NTSB investigation concluded that pilot error was the primary cause. The pilots were operating under visual flight rules at night in an area they weren't familiar with and failed to maintain proper altitude to clear the mountainous terrain. The crash on Otay Mountain remains a deep scar on the landscape of country music. For Reba, it redefined her life and career. She had to learn how to stand on a stage again, surrounded by new faces, while honoring the memory of the ones who were gone. She established a scholarship fund at the University of Oklahoma to honor her bandleader, Kurt Capello. Every year on March 16th, she publicly remembers them, ensuring that the names Jim, Chris, Kirk, Joey, Paula Kay, Terry, Anthony, and Michael are never forgotten. The Otay Mountain crash is a profound reminder of the human lives at the center of the entertainment we consume. It highlights the deep family-like bonds that are forged on the road and the unimaginable strength it takes to step back onto the stage after it's been shattered. The music lives on, but the memory of these lives lost gives it a different, more poignant meaning. What does a story like this make you think about when you watched your favorite artist perform? I'd be interested to hear your perspectives down in the comments.